Yeah, everyone. I'm Andal Balu from Kokota, and we are glad that you're all here. This is like a year-end tradition for us to just meet everyone. We can see the faces because, like I said, we earlier we had only emails. Then I know the pandemic. One benefit was we could have the Zoom, but we could just hear or we saw your chats, but we can put the face to your names. So thank you all for coming.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Dr. Balu, you want to open your mic and you're on mute, sir?
You're on mute.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all here. Uh, it's a Saturday morning. Everybody should be relaxing and taking it easy. Let's have some good time.
Who are you?
I'm sorry. I'm Balu from Coco Town.
Aha. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. And I'm Teresa Grant, and I work for Coco Town. I help do marketing, sales, um, customer service, and I'm a very grateful co-host of the Empowering Chocopreneurs webinar series with Mrs. Balu. Um, I'm always happy to see all of you and excited to hear from you. And maybe we'll just, if you want to open your mic and jump in there and let us know who you are and share anything that you'd like, we can do it that way.
Hi,
So as
everyone.
Mrs. Balu says, don't be shy. Oh, good, Jeff, not shy.
I'm not shy. This is Jeff with Download Chocolate. We're fairly new, but been using Cocotown equipment. We're in the Northwest USA, outside Portland, Oregon. We make low carb chocolate, so sugar-free chocolate.
Wonderful, welcome.
Thank you.
I see Serena and Perry Solomon. Thanks for joining the meeting. Serena is the youngest chocolate maker we have met in Northwest Chocolate Festival.
Nice. Serena,
I'm
do you
sorry,
want to come?
Balu, did you ask me a question?
No, just I said welcome, Perry.
Ah, good to see you. Thank you.
Perry, since your mic is open, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm actually here to support Serena in her journey to become a master chocolatier. We originally met Balu at the Chocolate On conference in Bellevue this year. And Serena helped out in the booth a little bit. So we're excited to be at this event.
Wonderful, welcome. Serena, would you like to open your mic and?
Oh, she's a good salesman.
She's hired.
Yeah. I'm Serena. I'm 11. I am trying to become one of the greater chocolatiers in the world. Well known, quality, refined, all of that.
Wow, Serena, did you say that you're 11?
Yes.
Wow, wonderful. Very exciting. Welcome.
You are starting early, so you will have the very good,
Yes.
success, Serena. So we see your enthusiasm and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
Okay, maybe we can see by the way I see the pictures. So, yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, Ian McPherson from Edinburgh. I've made bonbons before, but this last year I've just started making bean to bar chocolate. Hopefully a lot less waste and time doing the bean to bar than I did with the bonbons. But
welcome, very exciting. We're happy to have you.
Andrew, yeah, good to have you.
Andrew, I see you're talking, but you're on mute, sweetie.
There's unmute.
There you go.
Oh, well, so good to see you all. This is Andrew Sanders, and I'm over in Puerto Morelos, Mexico. And basically, I'm in my retirement mode from the world of cacao. However, I did help someone in Puebla, Mexico here starting a business over there because of all the cacao in the Oaxaca area, Pueblo over there. So I always like to keep up with what you guys are doing. And it's good to see you, like always.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank
I
you.
think you've been with the Empowering Chocopreneurs webinar series from the start.
Well, I have, and my brother up in the Northwest with his business Troubadour Chocolate, which I trained him. He's up and doing really well. So I mean, I keep my fingers watching my students do well is what I do.
Wonderful. Okay. Mrs. Butler, you had a suggestion. Maybe we'll go around and call on people.
Yeah, no, I'm going by the way I'm
Yeah.
seeing the pictures. So
Yeah.
David from David Puntus,
Yeah, looks like David might
you
be
want to talk?
driving.
Yeah, maybe then William Mott.
William,
see
would you
William
like to
Mott.
unmute and come on and introduce yourself? William is logging in via his phone, looks like.
Okay. Then I see Marcus Samuel. Oh, okay. Marcus Samuel. Do you want
And I
to
think
talk?
if I saw in the chat, Marcus is in, where are you, Marcus?
Nigeria.
Yes, in Nigeria.
Okay, then Albertus. I see Albertus Escas. Albertus, are you there?
Albertus, you want to open your mic and introduce yourself?
Mic is open now. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir. We
Yes.
hear you.
Oh, I'm very glad that you invited me. My body is in Brazil, but my head is still in Ivory Coast. I was able to identify 100 fine cocoa varieties in Ivory Coast, which is the biggest country of bulk cocoa production. I found that 100% of the cocoa trees are in reality fine cocoa trees. And this means when I extrapolate that instead of 95% of bulk cocoa in the world, we can have 95% of very fine cocoa in the world. So I will give some details if you wish.
Okay, maybe
Yes, we will go to the details later, Albertus. Right now, we are just introducing ourselves. Thank you.
Marcus, we see
now I
you
think
now. Sorry, Mrs. Balu. We can see you. Would you like to open your mic and introduce yourself?
Marcus is there.
unmute. Marcus, you're on mute. We cannot hear you.
He's driving.
Yeah, yeah. I hope you are parked.
Okay, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
wonderful.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good day. It's nice to be here. My name is Marcus Samuel. I'm from Nigeria. Sorry, I was driving. I had to park and join the meeting because I already had to note down that I was going to be part of this. I appreciate the fact that you sent me an ID for this meeting. I'm a cocoa processor. I bring in cocoa into Lagos, Nigeria, and then I try to extract cocoa butter, and also process cocoa powder and sell locally. And I would love to, get more experience from you guys to know more about chocolate, processing chocolate. I understand we're in Africa, we've got chocolate here, but sometimes processing chocolate, it's been somewhat horrid for most of us. We don't really get when it comes to machineries and some other factors due to the fact that we're in Africa. So I really appreciate the fact that I'm here with you, and I'd love to learn more from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Now, Christian.
Sure. Hi, I'm Christian from Colombia. I I am in the process to start my chocolate business, and well, I'm organizing everything basically right now. I've been experimenting with cacao in the past 2 years, developing some mixtures with some flavors, some with the roasting, and now it's time to start the business. So I'm glad to hear meeting you all. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Now,
Welcome.
Marilyn from Chicago.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm a artisan bakery. I do a lot of sourdough breads, and I like to incorporate different things in it. And I also want to incorporate my own chocolate. I'm starting back to looking at where can I find another class that starts from bean to bar, so that I can produce my own chocolates and have them in my own bakery.
Wow, wonderful.
I see David. Are you able to talk now?
Hi, everyone. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience. I was just driving to the farm. So my name is David Briceño. I'm from Colombia. I'm a third-generation cocoa farmer, agronomist, and consultant, mostly into cocoa agroforestry farming, post-harvesting practices, and machinery and chocolate making.
Wow, welcome.
Yeah. Then we have William Mart at the phone. William, can you introduce yourself? Yet unmute yourself and then.
I know when I've done call in on Zoom on my phone, sometimes I can't find the buttons.
Yeah. You have to wait for 30 seconds or we have to continue and then once he say unmutes, we can let him talk then. Yeah, okay. Teresa, I think we can continue and then once he can unmute, we can ask him to introduce. Or he
Okay.
can put in the chat if he is possible.
Sure. Well, I just have a couple of fun questions just to get us started. And I've created them as a poll. So I'm going to just launch the first one. Can you see it? You can see the poll and you can write your answer. And then we can open up our mics and talk about it.
Paul is not here, Teresa, yet.
Oh, no. Okay, well, let's just, since I can see the question, I'll ask you.
Yeah.
What is the most
Okay.
unique or unexpected chocolate flavor combination you've ever tasted or for our makers have ever created? Anybody want to come in and talk about that with us?
You can start the conversation. Maybe.
Sure.
I have not tasted it, but I have seen one time, in Peru, when we went for the chocolate festival, somebody was making chocolate with the bugs as a protein.
Oh.
The insect
yeah.
laden. Because since I'm a vegetarian, I didn't eat that, but that was the most unusual chocolate I have found so far.
I tried that one, I think at the Northwest Chocolate Festival. I can't remember which chocolate maker had that. That was interesting.
Oh, you have tried it, okay.
Oh, that's really cool. I'm learning that it's in other parts of the world, it's a very good source of protein.
They say it's a sustainable protein because.
Right.
Okay. Anybody else wants to pick up the conversation?
I'll jump in, and I haven't tasted it yet, but my sister recently visited Ireland and she went to Hazel Mountain Chocolate, and one of the bars that she brought back for me has seaweed. So I'm looking forward to tasting that. Dark chocolate with seaweed.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Albertus. Yes.
So the most unusual chocolate I started meeting them 15 years ago, and it was concrete now in Ivory Coast, where I met 100 different combinations of natural aromas and natural flavors from cocoa pulp. Those I made 40 chocolates of them, and all of them are very unusual chocolate flavors. They are at the same level of Nacional, Ariba flavor, or TSH from Trinidad. Every single combination goes to the chocolate if you do the chocolate the right way. I think it's a revolution in fine cocoa flavors in the world.
Yeah, all the chocolate makers are the cocoa farmers. If you need to know about how to ferment it to get this, to bring out these flavors, I think you should contact Albertus. He is like, yes, how many years, Albertus? 50 years that you have been doing research?
I started my first patent in cocoa drop mix was 2009. So 14 years.
14 years, yeah.
And about the fermentation, I have no secrets anymore to give my fermentations away to anybody. In order to reveal the flavors and aromas from the pulp into the chocolate, you have to use anima or tradima fermentations. These in Ivory Coast took me 2 days and a half. And when I did the traditional fermentation, I learned that cocoa get very, very stressed when you put it in a box that I now call concentration box, and it becomes from 2, 3 bitterness, it goes to 6, 7, 8 bitterness, and that bitterness does not go away. So that explains why the whole of maybe 80% of the world cocoa is considered bulk cocoa that need to be Dutched. With my method, no more Dutching, but that's the coming work to be done.
Yes, and if you'd like to read Albertus' book, you can visit Cocoton's website. He's been so kind and generous to let us house that book for you, and you can learn all about what he's sharing. You can go there and read all about it and learn all about
There's
it.
also a blog post on Cocotown explaining what he has done, so you can read the whole. Yeah, he has done a lot.
And then I'm not sure if it's already on our YouTube channel, but if it's not, we'll go ahead and publish the, he did a webinar for us, and so we can publish that. It's in Spanish and English, 2 webinars.
And it's also, his book is in 3 languages, French, Spanish, and English. So you can download whatever language you are comfortable with.
Even Portuguese. So I just
That's right, in Portuguese.
all the knowledge that I shared in April this year is now overhauled by what I met in Cote d'Ivoire. Every time I meet Coco, Coco shows me something completely new. And this was the case in Ivory Coast, where I discovered 30 different flavors and aromas, all of them being very interesting for the human being. They asked me, how do you explain why cocoa has so many flavors and aromas? My answer is the only scientific explanation is that cocoa loves the human being.
We love the cocoa. So it's mutual.
Yes.
I
Well,
see
maybe
somebody
Mrs.
joined from. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
What?
No,
I
ma'am,
see
go ahead.
somebody joined from the Galaxy phone. I don't see the name. So would you like to introduce yourself? Or you can put in the chat if you're not able to open the microphone. Okay, continue.
Okay, well, so now that we've got to know each other, and it sounds like we have people from every range of the industry, we could have an opportunity right now if anybody wants to open their mic and ask questions of one another. That is something that we can do. Yeah, go ahead, Mrs. Butler.
No, we didn't give chance for others to tell what is their favorite chocolate. If anybody else wants to.
Their flavor combination. Yeah. Anybody else want to talk about that?
About flavor, you're talking about flavor inclusions or flavors that are
Anything.
naturally present in cocoa? Yes,
Anything,
I'm not a
any
fan of
special chocolate.
inclusions. I feel that sometimes um, people people can have good cocos and a very different type of cocos, and they choose sometimes to work with very traditional cocoa flavor, and then adds flavor to their products by adding inclusions. And I'm a bit of a purist because I'm a farmer. I think that there are a lot of flavors that are natural to cocoa, and I mean that there is a blurred line between adding inclusions to enhance flavor and to hide the absence of flavor or hide defects. And I feel that sometimes if people have an excess of inclusions or other ingredients that may mm, hide some cocoa flavors. And that's why my favorite chocolates are from Free Soul, because I feel that he understands very well cocoa. We had some discussions about cocos with that have a lot of violet beans that other chocolate makers and traders would think that are not suitable for making chocolate. And actually, he used a lot of violet cocos in his recipes, and he gets a lot of flavor from that. So I love the way that he managed to create a great chocolate from a non-standard physical evaluation from cocoa.
David, can you share with us some of the flavor notes that are expressed through some of those chocolates?
Oh, I actually forgot the names of the specific bar that I love the most. It was very high in cocoa, but I love. But what I got, what got me surprised was the texture. It wasn't chuno. It was sorry, I forgot the specific variety he was working there. But when the description was talking about, yeah, this is chocolate. This is mostly chocolate. Then I wasn't expecting to be surprised by the definition of the chocolate and the texture. So I always love nut flavors and fruity flavors and flowery and all of that. I think that sometimes chocolate is overrated, but that specific quality of the flavor of the chocolate flavor, of the cocoa flavor attribute in that chocolate was just mind blowing for me.
Wow. I'm going to put them on my
If
must
I
taste
remember the
list.
name, yeah, if I recall the name, I will put it in the chat. But right now, it goes above my head.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else want to talk about some most unique flavor or combination?
Inclusion.
Yeah.
Um,
Ian, I see your mic is open.
Yeah, I'm not very adventurous when it comes to unique flavors, but I think I know the chocolate that you're talking about with the seaweed. Is it Neary Nogs, the company?
No, it's
No.
oh gosh, now I've forgotten.
I
I
have
have the
had one with seaweed in it, which is quite a salty chocolate, as you might
yeah,
expect.
Hazel Mountain chocolate.
Right,
They're in Brennan, Ireland, I believe.
right. I've had one with gorse flour. I don't know if you know what gorse is.
No, tell
Eh,
us. Tell us about it.
we get it a lot in Scotland. It's quite a spiky, hardy plant with yellow flowers. And it certainly wasn't a favourite of mine because it tastes a bit like coconut, which I don't like. But
Oh, okay.
I guess it's quite unusual to think that this hardy Scottish plant could have the flavours of a tropical fruit or nut, whatever you want to call coconut. But I think one of the chocolates that I found most unusual was I had a truffle with olive oil instead of cream.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
I was expecting it to be very strong and peppery, but it wasn't. It just gave it a really smooth texture.
Fun. Okay,
I
anybody
see
else?
artists from Zoco also joined. Would you like to introduce yourself? Okay. Okay, maybe we have to ask you people who are joining. If you want to introduce, please put it in the chat and we can let you talk. Okay, Teresa, you can go to the next one.
Sure. Well, what I was saying is, since we have oh, that mic opened. Come on, I see you opened your mic. Atis? Oh, we lost them.
The internet connection may be not good.
Yeah. So since we've created this sort of container for networking, I thought maybe we just, take a break from questions from us and open up the room and allow you, if you want to, ask questions of one another. We have some people that are just starting in the industry, and then some that have already been making chocolate. We have cocoa farmer represented. I think I heard we have sort of a broker represented. So we have someone that is an expert in fermentation and flavor. Anybody have a question for anybody in the room? You also have the owners of Cocoa Town here if you wanted to ask them a question. Not to put them on the spot, but yeah, Mr. Balo's still here.
I do have a general question,
Yeah.
if I may. I when I first started, when I visited the Salon du Chocolat in 2017 or 16, everything was about origins, and I was very hopeful because Colombia wasn't very known at all, and I was hopeful that the origin trend would continue, and we would have the opportunity to find our own place in the market. So people would have Colombia and different parts of Colombia, and I actually got to know that there were places making cacao that I had no idea. But I think that that trend slowly fade out. And my impression is that most chocolate makers, well, it is the economic context and everything, but I feel that most chocolate makers are preferring easier cacaos, more traditional cacao, and the opportunity to include new origins is really difficult, is really scarce now. So I would like to know if there is that I got an idea about the problem with that, and I would like to know your opinion about it, because sometimes I feel that origin cannot express the complexity of flavor development, and I think that Bertus Esquis is an expert in that. So that means that this whole word of origin, or this whole concept of origin, is not enough to guarantee consistency. And I feel that some chocolate makers were thrilled by some origins and then couldn't get the same flavor in subsequent batches and or lots of cocoa. So somehow they got disappointed and tried to play safe with more standard origins, and that reduced the diversity of products of basic cocoa chocolate products in the market. And and I feel that we are somehow stuck, and the inclusion chocolate market is growing rapidly, but the origin and basic flavors or natural flavors from cocoa is just somehow stuck. And and I feel that we should somehow ditch the definition of origin and find new different definitions for expressing flavor, complexity, and consistency that is mostly based with post harvesting. But I feel that there is somehow a rough time for new origins to enter the market, because chocolate makers are somehow scared of failing the consistency. But that is rumbling around my head for some time. And I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
Would anyone like to come in and speak to David's?
He mentioned my name, so I feel obliged to say something.
Okay, Albertus.
I think a very good question about cocoa origins. I'm a geneticist, and I think that many times the origin is related to different genetics. So you have Trinitario over a lot of countries in the world, but then you have Ecuador, where there's only Nacional in Ecuador, and Trinidad, where there's only TSH grown there. So origin is a bit mixed up with genetics. What I was starting to say, that the 30 different aromas and flavors that I found in Ivory Coast will be expressed the same way in Ecuador and Brazil, in Papua New Guinea, if you use correct fermentation methods and correct methods to make chocolates. Are you hearing me? I don't see I don't see you anymore.
Yes, sir, we hear you.
I'm hearing.
So just to complete those, what I should have said on the most curious type of flavor that I identified in Ivory Coast is garlic. Cocoa produces garlic flavor. And if you ferment it, then you get the honey out of it. You are drinking a garlic drink. No, I think nobody of you have ever had the opportunity to meet with that. The garlic comes from the Trinitario population. What I find in Ivory Coast, I can find in Colombia, I can find in Ecuador. If I use hybrid cocoa has the tendency of favoring hybrid status. And the favoring, to my idea now, goes together with expressing of a very wide variation of flavors and aromas, all of which are interesting to the human being. But so far, there have been very little expression of this because of the fermentation methods. If you ferment more than 4 days, like in Ecuador, you can only ferment 4 days for the Nacional, otherwise you lose flavor and aroma. So with 6 days, 7 days fermentation, you lose most of the aroma and flavor. And then the chocolate making is done to eliminate bad things. We need to reorganize ourselves to add value to the good things. If there's no bad things in the anima fermentation, we don't need to go for the elimination of the bad things. I did the chocolates in 1 to 4 hours in the mélanger. And then I got the full expression of aromas and flavors. I have to work more on what is the minimum needed for a craft chocolate or for the commercial chocolates. That will be one of the next steps that I'm facing.
So is that a different fermentation method you are applying, Albertus? Like a new fermentation method or a traditional one?
Well, in 2018, I requested a patent on Anima, and in 2021 on Tradima. These are two very effective fermentation methods that transform bulk cocoa into fine cocoa, and fine cocoa into very fine cocoa. I did a small study in Ivory Coast because Ivory Coast is a bulk cocoa country. But the varieties, the genetics are very, very fine. How to explain it? So I compared Anima with traditional. Anima, in 2 days, all the bitterness and astringency and acidity was gone. Anima is using a lot of air. It's a completely different fermentation method. Then the traditional ones, the cocoa that had initially 2 or 3 bitterness go up to 6, 7, and it does not disappear. It continues until the end. So that explains why the Ivory Coast commercial cocoa is considered bulk. And now with my finding, 100% of the fermentation of the cocoa from Ivory Coast can become very fine cocoa. So it opens up a whole new window on how to work with cocoa and how to get the best out of cocoa. If you're interested, I can send you Anima methods. If you go to the Cocoa Town information that I gave in the April talk, there's also the link for you to get the information. If you don't find it, you can contact me and I will send you the information.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to just speak to the what David was talking about as a lover of craft chocolate and a lover of tasting my way around the world from the perspective of the consumer. I wonder if one of the issues, you mentioned that it's easier for chocolate makers, to work with certain types of chocolate. And I wonder if the driving force in the end is the consumer, and and one of the webinars, someone mentioned that we have to educate the consumers into customers. So sort of like the wine industry, people fall in love with different regions because in that region, that farm, that winemaker brings out this essence and that essence. So I wonder if, as the craft chocolate becomes more and more exciting to people, training the consumer, because when I bring craft chocolate to gatherings with my friends, because I want everyone to know about this beautiful thing, about what cocoa farmers do and how to, create a living wage and make it so that everybody along the value chain makes money, is to convince people to spend the money, because ultimately we have to convince people to buy the chocolate. And when I give them, some bars that I have and ask them to, taste it and dissect it with their senses, they're blown away. They've never experienced anything such as this. So I wonder, as part of it, don't give up, right? Don't give up on, we just got to teach consumers, about this beautiful fine product that is being created. I mean, right down to, I love the idea of single estate, not even single country, but single estate, and maybe next, even that single estate. Well, what does the chocolate taste like that came in this year? And that same estate's going to have chocolate next year, and what's that going to taste like? That excites me. The little hairs on my arms are standing up. So we are out there. We just got to grow more people like me and more consumers, so maybe it's an education of the consumer is one aspect of exciting and getting people interested in origins. Mrs. Balu, I noticed that you wanted to talk.
Well, you can finish. I was waiting for you.
Oh, I'm finished.
See, okay, David, the other thing I think is when people want to buy the beans in a small quantity, the shipping becomes like astronomically. Okay. So a lot of people, they don't want, without knowing how the chocolate is going to turn out, they don't want to put that initial investment. And also most of the time, they're not sure if they will have the consistent quality. That's why they go to the other people like, the Maya Mountain Chocolate or somebody who has tasted for them and give the consistent beans. But the beauty of the craft chocolate is the inconsistency, because the God made the food inconsistent, because each season is going to be from the same tree. Each season is going to be different, dry season versus the rainy season. And also the cross pollination, even within the same pod, sometimes we have seen, white, you know, beans and then the colored beans. So there is so many variation. So what I'm thinking is maybe you should make as a couverture, not as a chocolate, but make as a couverture. Then the shipping is less because it is still compact and also it is still an ingredient. It's not a finished product. And then ship it to the chocolate makers and ask them, would you like to use this? They can finish it with the how much ever sugar they want. You can make it just only like a cocoa liquor, not the chocolate, cocoa liquor. And also you don't have to, grind it very fine, because they have to and add the sugar or whatever, and they have to grind more. So that way, you will still employing more people in your country. At the same time, The people receiving it, all they have to need is a melanger. They don't have to invest in the roasting, cracking, winnowing, and then it's, then they don't mind taking that risk because it's a very minimum investment for them. So maybe, I don't know, the chocolate makers here, they have to answer me, but this is what I'm thinking, maybe going forward, like how they buy from Barry Callebaut or the other companies, the couverture, the people should feel comfortable buying the couverture from the farmers. So the value stays in the origin countries, that we are helping the economy much higher, because the beans, yes, the bulk market is like $1 a kilo, but the chocolate makers may pay $3, but still it's not enough for a lot of farmers. The farmers need, most of the farmers in the world, they go hungry, their family goes hungry. And that's not, right, because they feed us and we have to take care of them so that we can continue to get the food, because there's a lot of self interest is also there, because we can go to the city and we can earn money, but at the end of the day you cannot eat money, you need the food. We have to incentivize the farmers to stay in the farming, because everybody all over the world, we have seen like a lot of the farmers are about in their 50s and 60s. The next generation don't see the future, they want to leave. But we need to change it for our children, because our children need to have the food and they have to have it. So I don't know, chocolate makers, please tell me your opinion. This is my opinion.
I know for us, we would love to try some of the smaller origins like you were talking about. It's just hard to find. There's only, as a small chocolate maker, there's places like Meridian Cacao, which you can go to here in the US, which, they're a broker and provide a limited selection. I don't know, how much down to it would be really cool to get down to like a state level. It's just the risk and trying to find that, the amount of money it takes to try to find that, and the risk of bringing that in and maybe it not being so good. And I don't even know where I would go to do that, but I love that idea. Like from our perspective, I think some of the main things that control the flavor of the cacao is the fermentation, as you talk. We don't have much control on that as a chocolate maker, obviously. But we get the beans and we can roast them. And there's different ways to roast. So maybe like I like it on like Chocolate Alchemy. Sometimes they give like, some notes on how to best roast different types of cacao. Is it better to do a light roast to bring out the flavor, or medium or dark roast? And then what other ways can we help highlight that flavor? Probably through how we melange and conch the the cacao as we're processing and refining it. And then, the percentage of ingredients that we put in does affect the flavor somewhat. But yeah, like I think our biggest, how do we best roast it? What are the flavor notes, first of all, that we should be trying to find, and getting that from the farmer who knows the most about the cacao would be helpful. And then how to best roast it, and then if there's any other information on how to process it better.
My other question
If
is to
I
you,
can,
Jeff, is instead of sending as a beans, if he sells as like a coca liquor, you were, like if you look at the beans, they take a lot of space, and then 20% goes in the
Yeah.
husk.
Yeah, if
And
there's a way
then
to get it
another
like a
5-6%
sample, maybe if you get like a sample,
conversion. Yeah.
yeah, like a kilogram or 2 kilograms or something like that, and be able to purchase that to make like a sample batch, and then melange that with your sugar and
Because that
then
gives
create
you
the
a
chocolate.
general
And then
idea
you
of
can
what's
taste it.
possible, right? That
Yep.
sort of gives you a baseline of what's possible.
Right. I'd want to know
David,
how you roasted it also. Like, did you do a light roast or a dark roast? And if you gave that to me, because if eventually if I'm going to buy beans from you and roast it myself, I would want to be able to do that in a way that, highlights the flavor the best.
David, I noticed that you opened your mic. Would you like to come into the conversation?
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
want to be a hog the conversation. I don't know the expression, but I actually was thinking something about it because there's an exercise I like to do with chocolate makers is that I prepare some liquor samples, and they try it and they say, well, this is very different. This I don't like it. This is too sour. This is wait, whatever. And later I revealed that those are all the same exact beans, the same fermentation, exact same roasting, but different drying protocols. So that's the possibilities of flavor that you can.
What's the difference? You said the different what? Drying?
Different drying, different drying
okay.
methods. So you can change the drying protocols so cocoa tastes very different, so you don't recognize that it's the same cocoa. And that happens way more with fermentation.
David, just for
So-
clarity, I just want to jump in real quick. Are you saying drying, like post-harvest processes, or are you saying grinding?
No, drying, just drying.
Drying.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so there's this thing I want to offer to my potential clients is precisely this. I don't know if it is too much because I find too many flavors and I wouldn't know where to yeah minimize it. But I could offer the same product with different roasting profiles and different uh, specific flavors. So somehow a catalog of flavors. So makers could choose uh, their most desired flavor or blends because that's something that is possible. For example, there is a cocoa origin I work a lot. The cooperative I've been working for 10 years, that is Gigante Huila, and they tend to have very fruity, very citrusy cocoa flavors in some types of fermentations and dryings. And other types of fermentations yield chocolate flavor, very pleasant, very creamy chocolate flavor. And so, what about you could use the same origin, a blend of the same origin with a defined flavor profile? That is something that that we can do. And I don't know if it is too much because sometimes you can you can do things that nobody is interested, and maybe there is too much flavor, too much to choose from, and that is, might be counterintuitive. But I think that would be the best way for chocolate makers to get the best flavor, the best tuning of flavor that they possibly want. And I'm actually consulting for a small chocolate factory that is interested in exporting liquor. So all that you're talking about is making sense in my head right now.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
My experience with drying is partly mingled with Colombia. By chance, I discovered that slow drying or not drying during 24 hours in the shade and in a ventilated room, the cocoa is losing all acidity and all bitterness. This is one of a new way of getting good cocoa in the rest of the world. This I proved in Ecuador, I proved in Peru, I proved in Brazil, and I proved in Cote d'Ivoire. It is amazing what cocoa can do. My alternative fermentation methods, which is called Tradima, is traditional fermentation for 2 to 4 days, getting stopped the fermentation with high levels of bitterness and astringency. After 24 hours in the shade and in a ventilated room, all bitterness and acidity goes away and the quality is similar to the anima. Cocoa gives us many, many ways to get rid of bitterness and acidity. I studied 5 different ways in my life and all of them work. So I think this knowledge should be spreading all over the world. It was said in the April meeting, if you want more information, I can give you the protocols.
And we really appreciate that. I'll just let everybody know when he says he'll give you the protocols, he's giving away his expertise and years of experience to benefit cacao and all of us. He's giving it away, his years of knowledge and expertise.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's amazing. Thank you. And it would be really cool to like, we're a really small chocolate maker, but like as a chocolate maker I know like Good Now Farms, they collaborated with cacao farmers in different places, and I thought that was pretty cool. And like having that relationship with your cacao farmers and being able to develop the flavors in a way together, through the whole process would be really amazing.
Thank you. Perry, I saw that you did a little hand raise. Did you want to come open your mic and join the conversation?
I just was grateful for the free flow of information and supportive of it. So just my way of saying thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. I noticed that a couple new people have joined. We'll just take a brief pause in the conversation and allow them to, if they want to come on camera or open their mic and introduce themselves, and so we can welcome them. I think Daniel maybe just joined.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. In order for me to turn my video on, I'd have to stop the conversation and come back. So but I'll not do that. So for now, I'm a small startup chocolate maker near Richmond, Virginia. And so I've participated in several of these conversations, and I appreciate the great information exchange. Something new that I've learned that I'd like to share with all of you is that in Virginia and in the eastern United States predominantly, there is a fruit that's grown called the pawpaw, P-A-W-P-A-W. It's a phenomenal fruit that is grown along the riverbanks in the eastern United States all the way up to Canada. The challenge with the fruit is that it has a very short shelf life. I was trying to find the proper way to get it into chocolate. We found the method, and the method is to freeze dry the pulp. Once you freeze dry it, then you have to work on the scaling of what percentage or dose to add to chocolate. And I found for pawpaw, it's about a 4%, especially if you're going to make a white chocolate. 4% is the correct ratio, and it makes a very exquisite chocolate. That's the equivalent of having one pawpaw fruit per 2-ounce chocolate bar. So I'm definitely convinced that freeze drying fruit pulps is the best way to go for introducing any kind of fruit or fruit juice into chocolates.
Now I want to try that. I have never heard about that fruit.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It works with elderberry, blackberry, strawberry, you name it. If you can get the juice extracted, if you don't have you can always go with a steam extracting method and then freeze dry that. You'll find that the intensity of the fruit is let's say it's pretty concentrated once you freeze dry it. So you just have to experiment. But I think 4% seems to be the proper range for the amount and dosage.
Well, thank
Cool.
you. Thank you for
You're
sharing
welcome.
that.
You're welcome.
Are you selling any of the chocolate?
Well, let's say this. I'm about 1 month away from having my certification to sell in Virginia. I have this huge laundry list to go through to certify for Virginia Department of Agriculture Services. So my certification is in the paperwork, but I will be selling it. I have about 70 pounds of fruit pulp ready to be freeze dried, and we'll do that in the coming months and have that available in the chocolate form. Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I'm just curious for my own information. Will you tell me where exactly outside of Richmond you are?
I'm in the town called, the community called Powhatan,
Okay.
Powhatan.
Uh-huh.
And so my company's name is Rising Rainbow, but I'm doing business as Powhatan Chocolates and Coffee. So I do both coffee and chocolate.
Very nice. Very nice. My parents lived for over 30 years in a small town called Reedville, Virginia.
I know where that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel, this is Balu.
Hey.
What is the cost of this machine that the freeze drying machine that you are experienced with?
So
How affordable for most of the people?
that the machine is the machine that's readily available to everyone is it's not a commercial machine, but it gets good results. It's called Harvest Right, HARVEST and those will range from maybe 2,000 to 5,000. So it's a pricey investment, but once you figure out what the miraculous things you can do with fruit pulp and chocolate, it's phenomenal.
I mean, price is one thing, and also the cost of operation. You know, I mean, if it's a long process involving a lot of power, I don't know how it's going to be how practical it is in origin country.
Yeah, so for me, it's the only way to go to introduce the pawpaw fruit into chocolate. So I'm willing to do that. I'm the only chocolate maker that I know of that's doing pawpaw chocolate in any form or fashion, but that's the way to go. If you don't want to make that investment, then you can buy commercially prepared fruit pulp that's freeze dried.
Because both refrigeration and vacuum, they are energy intensive processes.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They certainly are. Well, let's say for a freeze drying machine of the type that I'm talking about that can take maybe 10 pounds of fruit pulp at a time, the energy consumption is very low. It just takes a couple days to process. It's like melanging, right? A few days.
I will look at them. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I noticed that like Cocoa Supply sells freeze dried.
They do
cocoa pulp, cacao pulp, which I thought was really cool.
Sure.
And
I purchased that just recently, and I'm anxious to try it into the chocolates to see what flavor it brings back. Yeah, I purchased the blackberry freeze dried fruit pulp from them as well. That makes an excellent ganache for bonbons and truffles.
Mrs. Balu, I see you're talking, but you're on mute.
Yeah, any other chocolate makers have any comments on those, origin countries helping through like a couverture or beans? Would you like to join?
May I comment? And Al, do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure, we can hear you.
Just a comment from someone who worked with fermentations. I learned that 80% of fine chocolates are made with some type of inclusions or some type of flavoring. I invented in 2008 a method to add fruit pulp to cocoa masses during fermentations. I've done that maybe in total 1,000 fermentations. I was very sad that all international chocolate competitions do not accept any adding of flavors to cocoa during fermentation. Incredible. It's a crime. All the chocolate makers can do 80% inclusions. I cannot get any prize by using any fruit. Many of the fruits I have been doing, all the fruits I add to cocoa pulp dominate the natural cocoa pulp. The natural cocoa pulp it's best done with varieties that do have little flavor and aroma. So you add banana, you add soursop, you add mandarin, you add any spice, and you get something which I rate on a scale from 1 to 10 on preference. My control would be 8 or 9, and the fermented with fruit goes to 10 plus. I see a bright future for cocoa and banana. Chocolate banana, cocoa banana is much more healthy and much less sugar than milk chocolate, than white chocolate. Why are we continuing to eat horrible things which have no value for health and which have very little value for taste? Well, in the market we can easily get. My recommendation to big cocoa players is now to make large amounts of cocoa with banana flavor. It is very nice. My 2 grandchildren in Holland, 4 and 5 years, they know all the chocolate they can get in the supermarket, and they say my chocolate is the best. There should be a future, and a future accessible to anyone who's interested in investing in something new that it will break barriers which have been so long to get improved. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. What I would love to see for you is make your own competition and open it to anybody that's doing what you do. Make your own competition.
Then I have to add, I'm in the middle of organizing the African, I organized the Cocoa of Excellence. Now I'm
Yes.
organizing Chocolate of Excellence for Africa. That will next year, but there will be the first, and the start will be the recommendation of using Anima and using Crop Mix as 2 major brands to be tested, to be competed. It starts with Ivory Coast and Ghana, and then next year it will go to the whole of Africa, including Madagascar.
Wonderful.
And as you know, there's no international competition for chocolate for Africa at the moment. It's a shame.
So I posted a question in chat. Is it the esters from the fruit that find their way into the cocoa bean? And does that actually permeate the shell to come away with that flavor?
I think what I invented should be studied in detail by maybe 50 PhD students. What I found strange, that what I always understood, that aromatic substances are trapped by the fat of the cocoa bean. But if I put banana, I get the aromatic of banana and I get the sweetness of the banana. Sugar is not an aromatic base, but it goes to the bean. If you add a sweet fruit, the chocolate will become sweet. So
would you get the same result if you were to ferment vanilla beans with that as well?
We don't need to ferment because cocoa already invented vanilla. But if you want to do it, vanilla will go the same way as the aromatics will go. It will be trapped by the beans.
Oh, very interesting.
The funny thing is that the natural bean, the cocoa prefers the added aromatics than its own aromatics. I used 2 flavor varieties. One had a soursop, strong soursop flavor. I added banana, I added mandarin and akpi, which is a spice in Africa, and the soursop went away in the fermented. So somehow cocoa gives a preference to added flavors and aromas. I don't know how it works. It's very intriguing to study that more.
Yeah, the aromatics, coming from a chemistry background, I think the aromatics would be those natural esters that are produced as those fruit mature and ripen. Those esters given off, yeah. So it's great that cocoa bean when it is fermenting, it is let's say it's subject to and can easily absorb those esters. I really like that idea.
What I need to add is that it only works well if you use my method, is anima or tradima, because if I use traditional fermentation, add banana, fermentation instead of 6 days will become 8 days, 9 days, and there will be more astringency and more bitterness that I like. So Choc Mix has to be combined with advanced fermentation technology.
Hey, does anybody have any other topic or question they'd like to ask one another? It's been a very fascinating conversation started by David and then kind of has organically grown into something new. But does there anybody have a question that they had in mind when we first started, opening up the floor?
One quick question. So as I prepare Serena for her journey, in the past year, we did the Chocolate On Conference in Bellevue, and that was fabulous. She also took the program at Utah State University and has her certificate in the Science of Chocolate program. Do you folks have any suggestions for conferences, educational programs, or whatever that Serena could become involved in the next year?
Great question.
We are planning to have a bean to bar intensive workshop. I don't know, but it's going to be like a weekdays. I don't know if she will be able to attend because it's going to be in-person event in Atlanta, but it's like a boot camp. They will be here from 9 to 6, and then they will do all the things like, by practical, like everybody will get to involve in every step of the chocolate making. We used to have it before the pandemic 2 to 3 times a year. After the pandemic, we could not do it, but we are planning to bring it in 2024. We already did one in India, but in US, we will be doing sometime when the weather warms up, maybe April, May in 2024. That's what we are planning now.
Terrific. Hopefully it'll be during a time she can take off from school for a couple of days.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we also have all these webinars on our website that she can go and look at her own, free time. There, we have almost like a 60, 65 webinars, Tarza.
I don't know. Stop counting. It's been since 2000. When did we start? 2020?
2020 September.
Yeah. On all sorts of topics, ranging from fermentation to processes, as well as hearing inspirational stories from makers, from farmers, from conversations on particular origins. So those webinars definitely are a great value. I wonder if any of our cocoa farmers that we have on could talk about, what would it be like maybe visiting a cocoa farm and learning from, from the beginning of the supply chain. What kind of great benefit, what do you think would be the benefit for Serena to do something like that?
Yes, actually, she's taking her first tour of a cocoa farm early January in Kona, Hawaii.
Okay.
If anybody has any suggestions for questions that she should ask or things she should look for on the farm while she's doing the tour, that would be great.
I recommend that she go for the full-on experience, and if the opportunity is there, is to go in and actually harvest cocoa pods, extract the beans, and participate in that upfront, getting the beans ready for fermentation, just getting dirty.
Excellent. Thanks.
Yeah.
And don't forget to taste the fruit, the fresh cocoa bean. That's heavenly.
Yes. She did a plant tour at Dandelion and had the ability to, they split open a fresh pod for her, and she had the ability to to taste it fresh out of the pod. So that was great.
But it's fresh out of the pod, not fresh from the tree, because
Right.
it must have traveled at least 1 or 2 days, like from the origin country, or
Yeah.
even from Hawaii. It takes like a 1 day flight ride. So it's a completely different experience eating, in the farm,
Yeah.
fresh that you cut it and you eat it. That's, I don't know. For me, it's different.
Sounds great. Thanks for the tip.
Sure. Several years ago, I had the pleasure to go to Nicaragua to a cooperative called Coda Raposa in El Castillo on the San Juan River. And my purpose of going down there was to teach the chocolate or the cocoa farmers on how to actually produce fine chocolate from their cocoa beans. So on this one particular day, it was like monsoon weather. We hiked and we took horses up to one of the cocoa farms. The farmer was there peeling open his cocoa pods, and I have this fantastic photo of him and I. He's opening the cocoa pods and he's sampling the chocolate that we made from his cocoa beans. He had never tasted his own chocolate before, or the chocolate produced from his own beans. Never knew that that flavor was even possible. So I think a lot of people assume that cocoa farmers know what happens to their cocoa beans themselves, but most of them have no idea.
Yeah. David, I see you walking. Are you on the farm?
He's on the.
Yes, I have to. I'm having a bit of a holiday, a bit of vacation, so I have to set everything running before I can leave. So do you want me to show you my farm?
If everybody else is
Yeah,
okay
share
with it,
some
I'd love to
cocoa.
see.
Sure. Yes.
This is a very old farm, almost 80 years. My grandmother planted it, and it's mostly, almost exclusively hybrids. Some clones, some traditional ones, TSH, and
1 second, David. Teresa, can you make a zoom on that, because it comes as a small screen. It's hard to see the
Yeah, I pinned
video.
him on my screen, but let's see how I can do that for everyone else. Also,
Oh,
if
so
I
you can
can't
just
do it,
just
if
pinning.
yeah, I did, and if others would like to do that, you can change your screen to speaker
Pin. Okay.
and then because he's speaking, it will highlight him for you.
Yeah. Or you can just say pin and it is makes
You can
bring
pin
it
it
up.
as well. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Thank you. Go ahead, David. Sorry to interrupt.
You could just
no issue. So this is a very old farm, very traditional. Yeah, these plants were huge, were 8-10 meters tall. And when I first started to manage this farm, the neighbors will say that I was
Is that how it is?
Yeah.
destroying the farm
Right?
and everything else. But it's been a long journey and a very interesting journey. And my conclusion, because I could speak about my farm all day, is that it's very difficult to work in the farm with cacao that is too diverse, because this farm has a lot of diversity in cacao, and that means not only flavor but behavior agronomically. So there is one time the year that you are unsure if this is the right time to prune, to fertilize, to do anything to the plant, because each plant has its own phenology, and despite being slightly synchronized, it can vary 2 months forward and backwards. So it makes very difficult to manage this type of farm. My highest yield, it was 1.4 tons per hectare, but it was too difficult to maintain. So I'm switching to clones selected from these same plants. So I have some plants that I have tagged, and I have a story for their yield and their profile. So I'm starting now to replace the old plants with new plants, but that try to keep the same genetic diversity. Although I would like, if I would say that I know the genetic composition of these varieties, but when you are a small farm, you have to work with what you have. So this is that perhaps a very traditional cocoa farm. I'm going for higher densities with my replantings. I've had very interesting results with that, but I don't recommend it for a traditional farmer without being knowledgeable enough or being very or having a very special extension service that I haven't seen yet. So I don't know if you want to know more about that, or this was just uh, an introduction.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Albertus.
I see, David, that you cited me in your thesis. I'm flattered. Thank you. When I see your pictures, I cannot stop telling you that each tree in the hybrid population is probably a different fine cocoa variety. And if you don't know how to identify 40 different flavors and aromas, you will at least be able to identify what is the nicest pulp you have in your plantation. All the trees which have very nice pulp and which are really nice, are really fine varieties in Ivory Coast, they all had very sweet pulp. The flavors and the aromas come better to expression when there is sweetness around it. So if you I recommend you to just start and see what you find. And if you have any question, contact me in how to get more information from those interesting trees. The hybrid nature of the fine cocos in Brazil and in Africa was a very basic to the expression of fine flavors and aromas.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I feel that I have here a lot of different pulp flavors, very different, very interesting, different pot colors and shapes. Of course, there is a lot of white-seeded pots that I wouldn't dare to assume that those are criollos or those taste better. I actually have one that is very wrinkled and all the beans are white, but it's actually extremely bitter. And I haven't had the chance to find the right fermentation process for it. But it's just a comment on how color of the beans is not really that well indicator of flavor, because I have some white beans that doesn't taste very well, and a lot of purple beans that are great in flavor. And actually going to find one of the white ones to see if this time, because every time I try to show it, it doesn't have any white beans or beans at all. But let's find if we are lucky today.
I'm sorry, I have to comment. White beans is just one gene. It does not be a guarantee for Criollo flavor. And I would not recommend you to go just for white beans. Go for the flavor of the pulp. In this type of population, I identified in Trinidad banana. Maybe you can identify banana. In Africa, I identified the garlic, and I identified soursop in those populations. But there should be many more flavors and aromas than that.
David, can you remind us where you are?
I'm in Colombia, in the south part, in the department of Huila.
Thank you.
David, I'm interested in seeing your thesis.
It was a graduate thesis about pollination ecology in cocoa flowers.
Okay.
So yes, I can send it to you, but I think it's very simple. It's in the
Okay.
It was a graduate thesis.
You have a very challenging plantation. Many interesting things to do.
Yeah. There's we are having a very difficult time with the El Nino. We are having a lot of struggle keeping
In March,
the
I may
plants in
go
good
to
shape.
Venezuela to look in the Gulf flavors and the aromas in the Trinitario population there. Maybe I can ask you to participate in my consultation there, if they allow, if you're interested.
Thanks, that would be great. As I said earlier, I don't want to I don't know the expression, but to dominate the conversation. So just let me finish with the last thing. So I don't know if people abroad knows, but you can see how hungry is the plant looking at the leaves. So this is a zinc deficiency, and it's very common with cocoa. And how do you, well, zinc deficiency is very complex. There are a lot of different symptoms, and one of the symptoms is that leaves seems like being stretched, like they when they were developing, you try to someone just pull them over and stretch the leaves. And zinc deficiency is major in cocoa because it controls the whole hormonal system of the plant. So I happen to see a lot of plants that have huge flowering seasons and no setting up pots, and it is mostly associated with zinc deficiency. And people, especially farmers, sometimes are very happy, very enthusiastic about their upcoming harvest, and because of that big flowering, and actually they find less harvest than usual, and that is usually because of zinc deficiency. And you can see every type of deficiency in the plants, but today I don't have much in this crop, so I don't think I can pinpoint other examples. This one is sulfur. It is also present in the newer leaves, so you can see the leaves are brighter, and the green color is lighter than the old ones. So this is sulfur. It's very common here in the region. And as long as you don't have symptomless plants, you are having yield reductions and resiliency reduction. So the better your plant is fed, the better it can withstand climate change and better yields that you will get.
Anybody have any questions for David, since we're getting a tour of the farm? Any of our makers or aspiring makers? Anybody have any questions about maybe what challenges does he face, or?
This one is manganese. Manganese
Beautiful.
deficiency.
So just one question. How does David sell his beans? What routes does he use to try and get his beans out there? The chocolate makers.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow.
So what do you do with the beans that you harvest? Do you sell them through a cooperative or do you sell them to particular makers or traders?
Okay, so I learned the hard way that I cannot do great fermentation practices in my farm while doing great agronomic practices in my farm. So I got to the point that I had to choose, because I was too focused on getting great flavors, and I did, but the yield in my farm was declining, and because maintaining a special fermentation practice requires a lot of dedication in every step. So I buy I sometimes it tastes great, sometimes it don't, and I buy to a local broker that sells cocoa to Ferrero, and they actually don't have any requirement about quality, and but they pay very well. Here locally, we had the competition from Colcocoa, which is the broker for Ferrero, Luker, Nacional de Chocolates, and because of low cadmium, they have been a bit fighting about who's getting the cocoa from this area of the country, so their prices are high, and sometimes people find it difficult to buy the beans because they can't compete the prices that I could get with paying no attention to my quality and for that buyer. For example, today I can sell beans right here 5 minutes away, and that being dollars 3.5, no, like $4 almost.
Is that
And
per kilo or per pound?
per kilo, yeah, per kilo, and I don't have to pay any attention to the details, so I can focus on improving my farm performance, especially with these very damaging Nino conditions. And so that's my deal here. And I consult for cooperatives that sell their beans and companies that sell their beans, but I'm not making that much effort for selling my beans directly. I want in the future to make my own chocolate, but I'm not close enough to that. I also would like my cocoa beans to rely my message, and that message is that, well, sometimes we as a farmers are not heard enough. It's very easy to develop these work-like relations where traders and chocolate makers are somehow our bosses, and you are not quite comfortable enough saying no to your boss, and that makes things somehow some difficult for us, because you get sometimes visits from traders or chocolate makers that tell you that you have to do this to your farm or to do that to improve your quality, and is actually plain wrong advice. But you have to say yes. You have to say yes and play along, and I don't like that for my cocoa. And so I haven't found yet a trader or a chocolate maker that is willing to to hear me grumpiness and hear me nagging about things, and be okay to be in the same level of conversation, because it's very difficult to find. So as a consultant, I try to level that type of conversation, because there is a lot of work that people abroad doesn't see, and they want sometimes to see the results, and you end up saying yes, this despite doing different things than they say. I don't know if that makes sense, and I don't want to expand a lot on that, but yeah, that's my deal.
Yeah, because the beans that I get, I buy from Uncommon Cacao. Yeah. But I think they probably like to control the product and make sure that it's as consistent as can be, and that it meets certain quality standards. And I think for me, as a small chocolate maker just starting off, I want to know that there's some consistency in what I'm working with. I know I can change things a lot just by the way I roast it and grind it and how I store it. And it's always going to be different, but yeah, but no, it's just, I know that there's obviously a lot of farms out there, and it's just understanding what everyone tries to do. because I'd like to do a lot more than I do at the moment. I'm only just starting. I use 3 different origins, but
Thank you. Okay, Daniel, I see you have a couple of questions. Would you like to open your mic? And you talked about the nutritional needs. Question for David, and
For
then
David, yeah. So
yeah.
David, yeah, what I wanted to know is, how are you satisfying the nutritional needs on your farm to the cocoa or the cacao trees that isn't available naturally? And is that really expensive for you to do? Is that part of the difficulty?
Yeah, actually, I had my worker in better shape before the fertilizers price skyrocketed. So I have a condition here in my soil is that these are not acidic soils. They're actually a bit alkaline, and we have an excess of calcium in these soils. So that limits the type of fertilizers I can use. So I'm not a fan, for example, of I cannot use any type of lime here. Uh, in and I have to limit the input of organic matter. And so all the compost I find here locally is from poultry, and it has a lot of calcium. And for example, the zinc deficiency that I showed earlier and the boron deficiency that's very common here and potassium is due to that excess of calcium. So it is not so simple to keep nutrition here because it is not about quantities but balance. So I have more success, for example, using humic acids and those stuff and a specialized fertilizer, because when I use a cheap phosphorus source, it won't do any effect because of the calcium and the pH. So it demands for me to use, if I want to make things more organic, I have to bring organic matter from far away and expensive, or use somehow expensive fertilizers, and and that is very difficult to. I could do that before the price skyrocketed, but here I had a potassium chloride sack for that would be $25 or somehow, and it got to be in $90. Yeah. So I wasn't fertilizing that year, and the crop really suffer from that.
Right. David, are you using any type of plantings that are nitrogen fixing in your cacao farm?
Yeah, I don't control weeds. Actually, I had an intermediate approach, but nitrogen is not my most limiting nutrient here.
Got it. Okay.
Actually, organic matter and nitrogen is fair. I control my inputs of nitrogen, but I have a lot of problems with potassium, zinc, boron, manganese sometimes, and the only source of those are well, commercial fertilizers.
Oh, I see. The second question that I had, David, was what are the things that you've discovered that you can do that improve the quality of the cacao bean with the least amount of effort? What's top of your list?
Actually, is segregation during harvest. Um, Despite the state of your farm, you will always get some disease spots, and the best way to improve the overall quality is just ferment apart the healthy parts from the diseased one. It's very easy to, well, to get those diseased beans to comply with the quality requirements for bulk cocoa, so you get to sell them well. And because the bulk cocoa requires actually to to be some DCS beans in the mix. And the other part is not a guarantee of flavor, because as Bertus said, you can have healthy beans but being too bitter or too astringent or maybe too acidic. So it's not a guarantee, but it is the easiest way to have to have improvements, and especially consistency in your flavor. Because I I also I'm also a taster of cocoa. I worked in the flavor map of the Orinoquia last year, and there is a situation that is very common, is that people usually abroad find positive attributes in things that are objectively defects. And I think that that is okay, because if we are eating cheese with mold or cheese with worms, then why we can't describe as a positive attribute for cocoa to be defective, to have a 5% of black beans or anything else, if that is the flavor we are looking for. But by not acknowledging that that flavor comes partly from defects, then we don't have any chance for consistency, and part of quality is also consistency. So it is not about just segregation, but understanding the correlation of the cocoa, the post harvesting, and the flavor consistency.
Interesting.
I see you have one more question. Does anyone roast cocoa nibs? I don't know anyone of the chocolate makers here do it, but we have some customers do roast, who roast their cocoa nibs instead of roasting the cocoa beans.
Yeah, while at the Northwest Chocolate Festival, I posed that question as well in one of the seminars. And the only company that I found that was willing to say they did it was Spinnaker Chocolate in Seattle. And so I went to the gentleman's shop and witnessed that process. And I took that home, and I have some pretty significant learnings from that. So while he will roast his cocoa nibs, he only does so to one level of roasting. I've taken that further to take a particular cocoa bean and roast it to different levels of roasting. Let's say a light, medium, and a dark. And then so I get different variations of flavor, different notes or present themselves. And then when preparing the final chocolate, I will use a combination, a percentage of the light, medium, and dark to get the flavor I'm looking for. It's phenomenal what you can do. The primary reason I do that is that there's so much variation in size in the cocoa bean. And by cracking it down to the nib level, I reduce the variance and there's more even roasting.
So, Daniel, can I ask you, when the beans are not roasted, raw beans, cracking and winnowing, how hard it is and how do you tackle it?
I find that it's no different. What I do is I will subject the beans to a 500-degree roast for maybe 1 minute, allow them to cool, and then I crack the beans. And what that does is it's a small percentage, but it ensures that almost 99.9% of the cocoa butter stays in the bean and none of it extrudes into the husk that would happen when you roast the bean with the husk.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, very interesting. I love the idea of multiple roasting profiles and then mixing that together to get different flavors.
It's phenomenal. It's similar to cooking. If you're familiar with cooking process, like in stews and things,
Yeah.
you may choose to not throw everything in the pot at one time, But you
Right.
might say, let me add a third at the beginning, a third in the middle, and a third at the end. And we do that naturally in cooking, but we don't do that when we're making chocolate.
So
Very
for, what
good.
do you use for nib roasting?
What I use is a convection oven with pans that are perforated with these little tiny holes, and they're available at specialty restaurant supply shops.
Interesting.
And to
Yeah,
keep
Yeah, we
things
also
on,
have the roaster with the special drum without holes
no,
to
no,
do
it's
the
not
nib
a, it's not
roasting.
a, it's not a drum roaster. You lay the beans out on trays in a
Yeah, but
perforated. I'm
I
sorry.
understood. What I am saying is Coco Town has a drum roaster for the nib roasting.
Oh, you
If
do?
anybody
Okay.
would, yes, that's all I was trying. I understand how you do.
Oh, so I should, I'm at near Richmond, Virginia. I should drive down, take your class and look at that product.
Sure. Oh, and also, which oven are you using for your tray roasting?
Well, since I'm a small shop, it's just a traditional convection oven.
Yeah, this is Balu. I just missed that point. You said currently you use an oven with no perforation, some kind of tray. Can you repeat what is that oven one more time?
Yeah, the tray, if you take a traditional full size or half size pan, restaurant size, you lay a layer of beans, your cocoa nibs out on that single layer. You can put a lot of nibs in that. And so the hot air is passing through the tray as well. If you try
So
to
that
roast
is
a cocoa bean on a solid pan, you don't get an even roast, but with perforated pan, you do.
my question is there any specific oven or any oven that this applies to? Convection oven.
Oh, convection level. No, I'd go on 350. I set it to 350 Fahrenheit. And then rather than saying the whole batch is medium, dark, or light, I will just introduce a pan for a longer time frame. And so I count.
My question is there any specific oven we are discussing about, or this
No.
applies to any oven?
Nope, any convection oven will do.
Okay. Okay, that's all. Thank
That
you.
makes it simple. You don't have to go buy a $5,000 oven. You could use a standard kitchen convection oven to do this.
Thank you.
I want to interrupt really quick since we only have 10 minutes left, and if anyone needs to go, Jeff has reminded me of a very good point, and if everyone here would like to connect with one another, put your information in the chat. You'll see which Jeff has done. If you want to connect, if you want to put your social media in there so that you can support each other with a like, share, and follow, so it pushes them. You push each other into more people's attention. We have about 10 more minutes, so you can put all that information in the chat. If you'd like to be connected with one another, put that information in the chat so that that was our idea as a networking event. So not only to get together and have conversation, but so that you can take the connections that you've made here today, with you beyond this container. So
Yeah,
you'll
we
have that
also want
chance.
all of you to put your name, email, and the phone number in the same text because we have a surprise Christmas, the holiday gift for all of you who stayed here today. So the gift is, Baba, you want to say it? Or you want to announce the gift? Okay. Yeah, everyone who is here today, they will get the Coco Town mini pre-grinder. That's $175 value. Yeah, whoever is, present right now, they will get it. And it's $175 value, but you will just pay for only the shipping because, some people join from out of the country. So just pay for the shipping. And if you already have the mini pre-grinder, then try, talk to us. We can substitute with something else that you would like for the same value.
Well, that was a surprise to me too.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Balu wants to make sure the people who are present now, only they get it.
Yes,
So
so
make
everybody's
sure you
putting
put
their
your,
information in the chat.
so this is a small gift from Cocotown for all your support.
Okay, so since we only have about 10 more minutes, we did promise that that you would get to help shape 2024 and the Empowering Chocopreneurs webinar series. So if there are any topics that you're interested in, feel free to open your mic and let us know. And also, if you would, type it in the chat for us so we'll have a good record of, well, we have a recording. So if there are any topics that you'd like to hear about, we would love to know, you know, what kind of topics, because ultimately this series is for you. So you get to shape, you know, what 2024 looks like. And then adjunct to that question is, if you have any presenters, if you can, you know, guide us toward presenters that, you know, can share on a topic that interests you, we would love to have that referral or that information as well.
Yeah, don't forget to put your phone numbers, because sometimes when we send the email, it goes into the junk. So make sure you whitelist, you know, Cocotown emails. If you go to our website, there is a section how to whitelist our messages, because we find some people said they did not receive some of the emails. So make sure you whitelist our email, info@cocotown.com.
And for William Mott, since you're on your phone, if you'll just shoot us an email, that way we remember not to exclude you from that offer. Because I know you probably can't type in your information because you're listening. Yeah, sorry, Mrs. Butler, go ahead.
I just want to make sure everybody puts their information. I see only like 3 or 4 people. I want to make sure everybody.
They're coming. So any topics that you wanna want us to, add to our list for 2024? Mrs.
Yeah,
Balu and I.
maybe.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
I was gonna
Yes.
say like maybe how to do a tasting, or what's the right way to. Maybe you've already done that. I don't know, but
No, we
some tips.
haven't, but I would love to have that because I love tasting chocolate and I love to learn about it, and
And
maybe we'll
maybe
do.
like
Yeah.
maybe like say I know there's Fresco who David I think mentioned had a talk on roasting. I went to that also at Northwest, but they had like 3 varieties. They had their light, medium, and dark roast chocolate. Like maybe suggest a chocolate bar before the meeting, and everybody could come with that chocolate bar or 2 chocolate bars or something, and then taste that together.
Yeah, we
We
love
can
that
also,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah. One of the limitations might be because everybody's around the world and we can't always get the same, depending on where you are,
True.
but we could foresee some way to make it so that doesn't matter what you're tasting exactly, but that we could taste chocolate together and experience it, and maybe someone could show us, what a chocolate tasting looked like, because definitely important to train the consumers into customers. Daniel, I see your mic is open.
Yeah, I put my comment in the chat, but I think it's overwhelmed by all these addresses. A common question that came up at Northwest was that a lot of the cocoa farmers are looking for cocoa buyers. Cocoa buyers are looking for cocoa farmers, but unless you go through a big provider, it's difficult to make the connection. How do we cut through that?
See, should we have a place in our website where people can put their needs, and then we can send the collective information to the cocoa farmer? Do you think will that help?
Maybe.
Maybe we can put like a jot form. We can send a jot form, like saying which country you would like to buy from, how much you are planning to buy, and if there is any particular farmer you are interested in. And then if you all answer the question, like not just here, we can send it to all the customers we have, and then that way we can at least connect the people who are interested to join together and buy it in bulk.
Yeah, there's a program that Cocoa Supply offers um, to allow you to go to Ecuador, as an example, where they primarily do their business. I'm going to engage them for that program, and the intent there is to go to the country, find the cocoa that you're most interested in from a particular cocoa farmer, buy your beans, and those beans then are transported to the cocoa supply fermentary in I believe it's Darden, Ecuador. And if you have less than a container load, they will help you transport that to the US or create value added products in country and then transport it. And so for me, that's very appealing because it gives me more opportunity to go engage directly with farmers, look at the methods for how they're growing their beans, how they ferment the beans, getting closer to the process up front, ensuring that the bean that I get is the best quality it can be without waiting till I've actually purchased the bean and then I find out the quality that I've bought. So, and that's really what I'm looking for.
Now, one thing that I do know that, it'll take some exploring, is that on Facebook there are many, and I don't know how fruitful this is, but I do explore a lot of those for places to advertise these webinars. There are some Facebook groups like Cocoa Farmer meets Chocolate Maker trying to connect. So if you could explore that and maybe, you know, sort of report back and let us know if that's fruitful. You know, so
Certainly.
I have seen that. Just my very basic, you know, since
Great
I'm not a
idea.
chocolate maker, that's my
Mhm.
very basic tip that I know. Okay.
Or if Coco Town can help you guys in any of the ways, please let us know. We can look at it and see how we can help. Because we also want to make sure we connect the farmers and the chocolate makers because both of them get the most benefit.
Yeah. Okay, we have just a couple more minutes. Anybody have any final words, final question for anyone in the gallery?
Okay, hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to appreciate everyone who has contributed to the meeting. I've learned a lot. And I want to say thank you for the opportunity. And I just want to quickly make a final word about some of the things discussed, especially fermentation as it relates to flavors and aroma. I think I was just jotting one or two things. And I think most of these things should be pushed throughout the world. I mean, when I mean the world, to the least farmers, because it's basically here in Nigeria, most of the farmers are in the hinterlands. I mean, they're mostly not accessible to the big cities, and where you have large farms of cocoa, it is quite remote. And basically, from what I've gotten from this meeting, some of the fermentation processes affect the quality and flavor of the chocolate. So I think it would do better, maybe perhaps uh, next time we could have a much larger and broader audience that will try and get back to farmers on the conditions of fermentations and procedures when it comes to making chocolate. I want to appreciate everyone, and I will try and see how I can meet up and learn one or two. Then secondly, Mr. Albertos was talking about information from Cocoa Town's website. I don't know if there is any link to get to most of those informations about what he discussed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Albertus, if you go to our website, there is a web, link. Teresa, can you put the link in the
Yeah, I'm
chat?
working on
Maybe
it.
some people
Yeah,
can
I'm working
copy
on
it.
it.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. And then somebody else also asked when the Bean to Bar class going to start. That's going to be in April or May 2024. So any other questions? Because we are like 1 minute left. We'll just wait for Teresa to put the link, and then in the meantime, we just thank you all for coming. We always finish with Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which loosely translates to may the actions and words of my life help the whole world, and all the whole world should prosper well. Thank you. And we wish you a happy holidays and happy new year. And then
Happy
if
New Year
we
to you
cannot,
too.
then we can also send it to you when we send the recording.
Yeah, we'll
And
have to do
this,
that. We have a new website,
yeah.
and so I couldn't find it. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, go, Teresa, you want to just then send the what thanks for them? I'll
Oh,
just
yes,
see if I can quickly
absolutely.
find it.
Thank you for helping us close out the 2023 series of Empowering Chocopreneurs webinars. It's been a very insightful conversation. I would love it if everyone feels comfortable, if you turn your cameras on so we can just take one final look at one another, and I'm going to take a screenshot so that we can remember this. And yes. Okay, here I go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait, wrong button. There we go. Thank you so much, everyone. And we look forward to 2024 Empowering Chocopreneurs webinar series. I think I speak for Mrs. Bala when I say that this series has grown to mean a lot to us at CocoTown.
Without your support, we will
Thank
not
you.
be here. So thank you
Thank
all.
you
for this
everyone.
session.
And thank
This was amazing.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Goodbye to everyone. I still dropping the link? No?
When we send out the email, we'll get it to you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
I'll get
I
you
would
the link,
expect that.
Marcus. Yeah.
No, thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Bye bye. Yeah.
Thank you and happy holidays to everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.